deltarune, tomorrow. Two words that fuck the intro. Asriel is evil. Okay, maybe not evil. Asriel is sus. God, I sound like spooky, dude. Why does no one ever talk about Asriel? This guy is like the most significant guy. In Undertale, he's the tutorial, the main antagonist, arguably the most important character in the game, and the final boss twice. In Deltarune, he's one of the very first characters we learn of. His best friend, Des Holiday, who he makes out, smokes weed, and goons to dragons with, is either dead, missing, possessed, the Roaring Knight, or all of the above. This guy, who is almost named Asriel, is suspiciously Asriel shaped. What's up with that? If we try to gather clues about Asriel right here, Chris will fight back, which they will otherwise only do for Des, or if we're about to literally kill their friends, and barely at that. The internet is conveniently having an outage, so there's no way to get in contact with him. If his parents try to phone him, he can just not take their calls because college life is just that exciting. And also, him being away at college is not suspicious in and of itself, but on top of all of this, it's kind of starting to seem that way. And yet, Woody, Jockington, and fucking Tung Sahur are the things we get theories about. Just drop the fucking chapter already, Toby. Now, what do I think this all amounts to? As much as I want to say with confidence that Asriel is definitely in on the whole night business, him and Des are still gooning together and they're gonna team up to be the ultimate final boss of some chapter. That is just fanfiction. I would really love for that to happen though, that would be awesome. But in the process of complaining about all this, I kind of realized why no one is doing anything with all of this, because it's fucking ambiguous. Do you know what to make of all this? I certainly don't. It's gotta be building up to something though. So I guess my theory is just that Asriel is more important than you think, and he's gonna come back next chapter and shit's gonna go down. I'm a fucking prophet for this one. Okay, next theory. Another hymn is the name of the song that's playing. It plays in the Goner Maker and it has Gaster written all over it. Who knows, maybe this means something. In Undertale, to Flowey, you are another hymn. Flowey can reset the whole world and is emotionally disconnected and treats the world as just a game. All of which the player can do, but if the player does that, then they're no better than Flowey. Basically, Flowey being another you is what carries the entire meta-narrative of Undertale, along with Sans of course. And I gotta mention, there's way better videos about this. In Undertale, Flowey is the very first character you talk to. He appears periodically throughout the game to say oh shit, you're doing this now, and maybe intervene. He's revealed late game to have way more importance for the narrative and meta-narrative than you could have expected. And he is a parallel to the player, aka another you. Now, class, is there anyone in Deltarune that this reminds you of? Wing ding ding, you got it, it's Gaster. Gaster seems to be living on a higher plane of existence than the characters in the rest of the story. Just like you. And just like someone else who cuts him off at the end of the survey program. Who is this mysterious second voice? I don't know. It's like some chapter 7 shit. We're not ready for that one yet. It's not on the syllabus. One of the first things this game does is introduce a being on the same level as Gaster that can overpower Gaster. And 7 years later, we're still here scratching our heads about it. And you already know fucking Toby planned the whole thing from the get-go. But wait a minute, I hear you say. If he's just another me, and I'm just another him, and he's just like me for real, and I'm controlling Chris, does that mean Gaster's controlling someone? Yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does. And this is the best part of the theory, because Chris has a parallel too, and her name is December Holiday. Des is the Roaring Knight, by the way. If Des isn't the knight, this entire video is wrong. Des opens a fountain, Chris closes a fountain. Chris strikes a pose, Des strikes a pose. Both stick out like a sore thumb in their families. Both express themselves through music, and both of them are probably very traumatized. And there's one little piece of DLC you can add to this if you want, and that is that both are human. Now you're saying, hold on. That doesn't fit with the narrative, and it certainly doesn't fit with my headcanon. And I get that, but first of all, you'll be fine. Second of all, whether or not you like it, you have to admit we're at least supposed to question whether or not Des is actually a human. I mean, there's all the weird shoe stuff. There's the Sans Xbox dialogue. There's the fact that the Dreamer household has a toilet, even though we know from Undertale monsters don't have to poop, which is why the Dreamer household only has a human-sized and not an Asgore-sized toilet in the bathroom. And then there's also all of the human soul-shaped pillows in her room, even though I don't see why a human would have that, but I mean, Chris has a soul in their room, so who knows? Oh yeah, and about this panel, Chris also has horns here, so. Now, do I think that Des is a human? I mean, it would add more parallels between Des and Chris, but no, not really. But I also can't figure out what the fuck Toby was going for with the shoes in her room. What does that mean, Toby? Like, it's very explicitly, you can't even miss it. Like, you have to complete the story, you have to see that along with all the heart pillows. There's even a way stupider version of this theory that suggests that Des is actually Kara from Undertale. I'll leave that one to Spooky Dude and all the crazy people to figure out. It's not a ship I want to see personally. Heaven and Hell theory. This is just the theory that the terms heaven and hell in Deltarune refer to the layer of reality directly above and below the one you're currently in. So to someone like Gaster, our world would be heaven and Chris's world would be hell. But to someone in the dark world, going up would mean going to the light world, but going down would mean playing a video game. Kind of like the one you're playing. This would also mean that when the prophecy says the tale of hell, that would just mean something from the dark world, and when it says the angel from heaven, that's just you. Another important thing to note about this theory is that in this like hierarchy of realities, each layer of reality is dependent on the ones above it. The light world controls the dark world, we control the video game, and if you're religious, God controls our reality. And this would go a long way in explaining Gaster's infatuation with us, as well as like the entire Deltarune religion, so I really like this theory. I just had a thought. Imagine the amount of characters that Toby could show on screen for just a frame, and it would immediately make us all erupt into hectic theorizing. This game is peak. Papyrus isn't in Deltarune theory. I hope this one is wrong. Papyrus doesn't know what the sun is, but Sans does. Papyrus doesn't bleed, and Sans does. The monsters in Deltarune bleed, but the monsters in Undertale don't bleed, except for Sans. And Sans really wants to go home in Undertale. And home is probably Deltarune. And Papyrus doesn't really seem to know anything about this. But there is one theory that goes against this that Sockmuppet made, that basically states that Papyrus is just as smart as Sans. He just puts up a front 100% of the time towards everyone because they don't know who the time traveler is. So that whoever the time traveler is, no matter what timeline they're in, they will have a false sense of security around Papyrus. So maybe that's the twist, is Papyrus isn't actually fucking stupid, and then maybe he's the knight or something, who knows. Gaster 673. We lost the fucking plot. I don't know what's worse, the fact that this exists or the fact that it's a good theory and I believe it. Either way, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Susie is in foster care theory. This one just makes sense. Susie doesn't seem to have parents. She doesn't really seem to give a fuck about school at all, and nobody's like encouraging her to give a fuck about school at all. It doesn't really seem like anyone's there to take care of her, and she has to move throughout her childhood. It just makes sense. Noelle will open the next dark fountain because look at this. Please say I'm right, Toby. I'll feel so smart. Kitchen theory. Look at this. You come down from above, from a walled off area to the left. Then things get cold, wet, hot, microwave. There's flowers in a trash can. You leave by going to the right, and it's a beautiful day outside. Does this mean we're going to Undertale in Deltarune? One can only hope and dream. Again, this is just fanfic, but How fucking cool would that be? And the last thing I want to talk about is what I actually think will happen in chapter 5, which, despite everything I forgot, I don't think the fountain is going to be in Flower King. I think it's going to be at the festival. This big thing where everyone is here. Susie and Noelle, Carol, Toriel and Asgore, Brady and Caddy, Asriel, Sans, maybe even Papyrus, who knows? Chris's entire class, the entirety of Hometown, potentially even the people who reside in the bunker. Almost every single character in the story now has an excuse to interact with each other. So there's probably going to be some pretty important interactions. And then in the midst of all this, Asgore is going to unleash his inferno of jealousy upon everyone. I think it's going to be a hometown dogfight, partially because of Ruth's theory, but also because the whole thing with Ralsei wanting to go to the festival just seems like foreshadowing. And there's also the Sans sprite where he goes to the Dark World. I don't see how Sans would end up in the Dark World if it's just in the Flower King. And I also think a Dark Fountain in the festival would just be so much cooler. Like, what would even be in the Flower King? Oh my god, I see why YouTubers always say, oh, this video took me way too long to make at the end, because this took me days for like 10 minutes of video. But hey, that means I get to upload this on the 1-year anniversary of the official release of Deltarune, release of chapter 3 and 4. If I can upload this within the next 50 minutes, we'll see. But yeah, after all this, I think the only conclusion I can really reach is that I have no idea what's gonna happen. Which I think is the best conclusion you can reach, actually, because all the puzzle pieces are laid out, and the more I've learned about this universe across the past decade, the more vast it seems. And I can't wait to see where Toby takes me next. I'm so excited. Deltarune tomorrow, please, Toby.